tuned in to Rise with India. I'm Ankita Saxena.
And I'm Priyanka Uppal.
And this is a show where we take you through all the stories that are shaping India's rise to the top. It's an action-packed lineup, so stay tuned as we get started with all the news. But first up, let's take a look at all the news that made headlines through the week.
After almost 4 weeks of power-packed action, drama and plenty of twists, the ICC T20 World Cup 2024 ended with India being crowned world champions. With this victory, India becomes just the third side to win the ICC Men's T20 World Cup twice. England and West Indies being the only other teams to have achieved the feat. This was also the occasion when two Indian stars, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, announced their respective retirements from T20 World Cup.
India's fiscal deficit between April and May stood at around 3% of the overall target for FY25 at 50,615 crore rupees. Now, India aims to narrow its fiscal deficit to 4.5% of the GDP by the end of FY26 from the 5.1% projected in the current financial year. The net tax revenue in April to May stood at 3.19 lakh crore rupees or 12% of the annual target.
India's criminal justice system set for an overhaul with 3 new criminal laws taking effect. Some of the new provisions for emerging crimes include gang rapes, mob killing, false promise of marriage. Courts are allowed maximum of 2 adjournments to avoid delays. Criminal case judgments to be delivered within 45 days.
The office market continued its strong performance in H1 2024, registering 29.4 million square feet of office leasing across top 6 cities, an increase of 19%, signaling robust occupiers' confidence and market condition. During H1 CY24, Mumbai and Hyderabad experienced a 100% increase in office space absorption, while Bengaluru took the lead by absorbing 8.8 million square feet. India's food delivery segment is expected to cross the 2 lakh crore mark by 2030, growing at a compounded annual growth rate of 18%, said a report by Bain & Company and Swiggy. The share of online services in the country's food delivery market is seen rising to 20% over the next 7 years from the current 12%.
And now time for the topic of the week. India's data center industry is poised for significant growth, with its capacity forecasted to double to 2,000 megawatt by 2026. The industry is compounding at an average of 15% CAGR. Their expansion is expected to attract investments totaling rupees 50,000 crore over the next 3 years and around 2.21 lakh crore by FY30, as per a report by Jefferies.
But despite India generating 20% of the global data, its share of data center capacity is only 3%, indicating a vast potential for growth. Adoption of technologies like 5G, IoT and AI is expected to triple data consumption in India. To understand this landscape better, we are joined by the sector analyst.
All right. In fact, Ankita, data center capabilities, maybe the term is new, but the utility has been known for years. Whenever you're downloading our data, uploading our data, there has to be a device network and a data center. And India is at the helm of it because data center capacity is set to rise 12 times. Tell us, sir, that in India, the capacity is expected to be 12x by FY30. And we've seen a lot of global companies, a lot of greenfield expansion happening in India. But there any Indian cloud operator which comes to the scales of global companies?
So, I think from a growth perspective, data center as a market looks extremely promising. That's a given. However, if you look at the success, I mean, majority of the demand which is there today, particularly from a cloud consumption perspective, is obviously driven by the global hyperscalers. So, I think for an Indian hyperscaler to have a sovereign cloud environment as such, I think it's a journey. Fortunately, there are a number of organizations, and the government as well has been, taking notice of creating a sovereign cloud kind of an ecosystem. But I think there are a number of considerations which one would need to look at before we see something happening at scale, right? First and foremost, if you just look back at the journeys of hyperscalers today, I mean, all of them started, about 15 years back or so. So I think over a period of time, they've done a huge amount of investment and capital expenditure in terms of building this, right? So that's, I think, one significant factor. The second is over a period of time, I think across infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platforms as a service, they've obviously built huge amount of engineering capabilities, which takes its own time to replicate, right? So when you need to look at elastic compute, data storage, a number of other analytical solutions, right, the kind of engineering prowess you need is fairly significant, right? The third is building trust with the customer ecosystem, right? Even if you've seen the adoption which has happened in India, I think obviously the pace of that has kind of accelerated post-COVID, but it's still taken a while for that trust factor to sort of build up, right? So I think, if an Indian hyperscaler or an Indian company is focused on these aspects and does this in a consistent way, why not, right? Why we could certainly have a cloud sovereign player becoming a global cloud hyperscaler from India. I mean, China has done it. Obviously, US has done it. Why can't we do it?
Right. But, with the advent of 5G, metaverse, what is going to be the impact in the way in which data centers are designed for the future?
So, I think particularly on enterprise, I guess let's unpack, right? So 5G will have obviously two use cases. One is on the B2C side and one on the B2B side, right? I think as content consumption is evolving, we are obviously consuming significant amount of data, so that's a given. And 5G as a network will continue to provide that. What will be interesting is with the interplay of Meta with content, I think the consumption is going to be even more exponential in nature, right? Just imagine augmented reality, virtual reality, which is two-way traffic, right? Which will have high bandwidth consumption needs. So with that, what's probably going to happen is a lot of edge compute reorientation of the networks is going to come through. So which means the servers or the storage is going to move closer to where the consumption is happening. So you will have not a massive delivery server, but a lot of edge networks being orchestrated, and that's something which is already happening, and that will happen in an even more significant way. Similarly, content delivery networks, right? A lot of that will evolve, because if we see a lot of the consumption which is happening in India, all of that is a lot of visual content, right? So I think that's one key orientation which will happen. That's also going to trigger B2B private network kind of setups. So that's what we at least observe or think that would be the architectural shift which would happen as more and more 5G and sort of metaverse use cases start evolving.
All right, thank you so much for weighing in on data centers. But with that, it's time for us to slip into a short break. But don't go anywhere, because after the break, we are getting you a big RWI champion.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.